right. Welcome back to the Game Link podcast. I'm your host, Lebby. And as always, I'm joined by my friend Elmer. How you doing, Elmer?
Hater Hoder, not too bad today.
So, today we're going to be talking about Max Payne from 2008, the Mark Wahlberg movie. But I guess before we get into that, how was your week, Elmer? What have you been up to?
Well, actually, in the past 2 weeks since we last talked, I don't know, kind of same thing as what we were at the last time I talked to you. Had a little shindig out over our place on Easter. That was a lot of fun. Did a very delicious alcoholic-based ham.
Ooh.
Not a rum ham, though, compared to what everybody who watches It's Always Sunny would think. Princeton, Minnesota's own Revelstoke Pecan Whiskey. We basted that sucker in with some nice fresh pineapple slices, cultivated from over at the Cambridge Isani Co-op.
Ooh.
And delicious, delicious ham on Easter. So just remember, if you're thinking Minnesotan, think Revelstoke. In Isani County's Mom's Co-op.
Oh boy. Here, before we get too far ahead, could you move that mic closer to you somehow? Maybe move it over. Sorry, we were kind of rushing this and forgot to mic check.
This is the latest we've ever started one of these, and we're rushing it. That'll tell you what our day has been.
Yeah, it's been a hectic day. Let's see, what did I do? I watched, what's it called? Little Evil, the Adam Scott horror movie, which is just basically one big satire of other great horror movies, and it was great. It was so good.
Specifically, that one is a satire of one of my all-time favorites, The Omen, which actually comes into play with the film we're doing today. I just figured I'd throw that out there as a little teaser as to what is to come inevitably.
Yeah, but if you haven't seen Little Evil, I know it came out in 2018, so 4 years ago already. Jesus. But I watched it for the first time, and I absolutely loved it. So if you kind of like a little bit of schlock and a little bit of like self-aware horror comedy type stuff, definitely check it out. I loved it. Besides that, what else did I do? I also I got some modifications planned for once I can come back to Twitch with gaming, once my medical condition has finally improved, which I'm getting close. So I have HDMI output modifications for the GameCube and Xbox planned to stream on Twitch, as well as like a disk drive emulator for the PlayStation 1 where you just put an SD card in with all your games and you can play them and stuff. So I got a few things that's like more like just hanging out, maybe doing a little bit of soldering, and if anyone's interested, I can give a few like tips on how I repair stuff and install stuff. So it'll be a lot of fun.
How much do you want for that PlayStation I sold you back in 2004?
Well, just for you, Elmer, I'll give it to you for $20 because that's how much I paid for it, 15, 18 years ago?
Better question. How much would it cost for you to not only give me that thing, which I know what you're thinking of, that, it's a barely untouched, prime of its life, 1997 built PS1, not even PS1, PlayStation, original cords with it and everything, and it's still running for you, and all of a sudden you're going, oh crap, what am I going to sell it to this asshole for? But now I'm going, oh wait, would you be able to put one of those aftermarket chips? Because I want nothing more to be able to play Bloody Roar 2, Siphon Filter 2, Medal of Honor Underground, and the masterpiece that are the Medieval series on that thing again.
Yeah, no, like if you want that, we can talk after the podcast and just have you order some parts. But yeah, it's ready to go.
I don't know, to a certain degree, I think of us talking about what all this kind of setup and payoff and time and kind of thing would be. I think if anything, that might help you grow your interest as well as just kind of your showcasing your knowledge.
Yeah, and one of the thing is, I have totes and totes of half broken consoles and stuff in my basement. So when I was ordering the stuff to do this disk drive mod on a PlayStation 1, I was originally going to do it to the PlayStation 1 you sold me so many years ago. But I was like, this has a perfectly working like disk drive and stuff. It'd be a shame to just kind of like waste that. And then I remembered, hey, I have a PlayStation 1 in a tote in the basement that has no disk drive at all. I think I forged it out of a dumpster.
I think you said forged for a second, so I'm like, wait, he literally hand built the plastic console?
No, I pulled this thing out of a dumpster or a box of garbage or something, and yeah, it's ready to go. I just need to put this mod in it, and then I still have 2 more working PlayStation 1s. So yeah, if you want one, I will make that happen for you, and I'll stream myself modding it on Twitch. So.
Just you foraging out of a dumpster finding a PlayStation. I'm just like, hey, look, I found a box of half-eaten hose, and then I realized, oh wait, no, it's a non-functioning PlayStation.
Hey man, think what you will, but I got an Xbox that way. I got a couple Sega Genesis that way. The PlayStation 2 that's sitting under my entertainment center right now, I pulled out of a dumpster.
Remember, these are not the same dumpster, nor are they the same dumpster on the same night. This is over other courses of him going, ooh, dumpster.
This is over the course of years, like either like my dad does a lot of like consignment auctions and stuff, so he'll just buy whole pallets full of garbage, not knowing what's in there, and like give me these old broken consoles and stuff. And then other times, I'll just be like, when I lived at an apartment complex, just like taking out the trash and noticing, a Sega Genesis sitting there or whatever. But I kind of felt silly holding on to this stuff for so long, and then things like this where I'm replacing a disk drive, and I just happen to have a working PlayStation without a disk drive. It feels good. I don't feel silly for saving this stuff for so long. But.
Now, I'm thinking about the hardware capabilities in it, and at least what we have today, and at least in terms of like emulation technology.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we could do this about now. How funny would it be? You and I do a video where it's that original PlayStation, just thinking to myself, what do I want to play today? Just be like, pull the PlayStation off the wall, set it down in front of the computer. You or I should say. And now, what game to play? You're going through and you're looking, you're trying to find it, you go, and you pull up a copy of Uncharted. You go over to the original PlayStation, put it in.
Was Uncharted even on the original PlayStation? I thought that was PS2.
No, that was Naughty Dog and PS3.
Oh, PS3. Okay.
What I mean is, though, do you think emulation technology is small enough you'd be able to fit it inside of a PlayStation and then be able to actually play? I mean, it'd just be a prop that the disc is sitting in there as a joke. It wouldn't actually be running it. It would just be putting it in the disc drive, pretty much.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that'd be easy enough to do. But, like, was it someone took Elden Ring and made a version of Elden Ring that ran on PlayStation 1? They just, you recode, texture mapping and polygon count and everything, and...
I've seen someone attempt to play that on PS4, and I can definitely say, don't play that unless you have a PS5. How the hell did they get that thing running on something that my fucking smartwatch has more RAM than?
Well, and there's also a big difference between the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 4 Pro. Like, I have the Pro, and that could probably run it decently, but compared to the original PlayStation, PlayStation 4, the Pro has, like, almost double the power. So it's, and even that's like a stretch. I've been trying to buy a PlayStation 5 for months. I'm following Twitter accounts that give you like in stock alerts and things like that, and it'll be like in 10 minutes it's gonna be available on this website. So I'll sit there and I'll refresh for 10 minutes until it's finally available, and I'll add it to my cart and I'll go to checkout, put in my card details and hit pay. And within that 20 seconds that it took me to fill out my cart details, they're all out of stock. And it's every single time, like multiple times a week for months. I'm getting really frustrated trying to buy a PlayStation 5. But anyway, we've gotten really off topic.
Moral of the story, we really don't want to talk about Max Payne tonight.
Oh my God. So before I get into the game, I want to say that during this movie... I like actively was not caring and I even left at one point because I didn't care about what was happening. So before we get into that and completely shit on the movie, let's talk about the game. Have you ever played Max Payne, Elmer?
Yes, I have. I loved Max Payne 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I've not had a chance yet to play Max Payne 3. I really want to. I'm every single time I think about to myself, oh, I want to play Max Payne 3 whenever I think about playing Max Payne 1 and 2. Oh, I just think to myself, I need to try to run over to my computer or run over to my Xbox and see if I can't download a copy. I love the Max Payne series. Um, as somebody who grew up in the late 90s, early 2000s, and just with how saturated the market was with everything that was The Matrix, and Max Payne was like one of the most forefront games to actually have like a bullet time, dual wielding firearm mechanic. It's like, this is the closest thing I'm going to get to an actual Matrix game. And then they released how many different Matrix games, and where it's like, well, no, Max Payne is still the closest we've ever come to an actual Matrix game.
3 or 4 Matrix game, and then they just came out with the new Matrix game running on the new Unreal Engine, and I don't know much about the gameplay or the game itself, but it looks amazing. So I might have to pick it up once I'm able to snag a PlayStation 5.
Whoa, it's on the PS5?
Yeah. Yeah, with their crazy solid state controller technology and their ray tracing and shit, like it's gonna look good.
Is it bad that my actual unintentional, this is me not being ironic, but I just realized as I was about to do it, I was gonna say, oh god, that's gonna sound so pun intended. I literally almost did a completely unironic, just whoa.
A little Keanu low.
Whoa. Specifically after watching Lawrence Fishburne jump 2 buildings.
But yeah, I've also played Max Payne. Probably not as much as you have. I think I own like the original and maybe the second one on PC. But I like played a little bit of it, and I like got to the bullet time stuff, and I was like, I get it. I don't need to really play much more of this. But it did seem like a whole lot of fun. Just I got to it a little too late. By the time I got to it, there was other stuff that was much more fluid. But if you didn't know, it's a third-person shooter. It's developed by Remedy Entertainment and published by Gathering of Developers. It centers on a former NYPD detective named Max Payne, who he's trying to solve the murder of his family while also investigating a drug trafficking case involving a new designer drug called Valkyr. In doing this, he becomes kind of mixed up in a big like conspiracy involving like a big pharmaceutical company and organized crime and secret society and the military, and it, it's way too much story than should be in one video game.
For a video game that literally consists of move from one room to another, just shooting people while jumping through the air and hitting the Q button to slow down time, yeah, no, there's way too much story going on.
Yeah, there's so much story. And it's kind of like most of it's told, instead of using cutscenes, they'll use like comic strips. But yeah, it features a gritty neo noir style. It uses like the graphic novel panels, like I said, like the comic book panels. And then they just put voiceovers to that instead of doing whole cutscenes, which not only save space but kind of let people interpret it kind of more how they felt, which really worked out for them. They drew inspiration from hard-boiled detective novels by authors like Mickey Spillane
And Dashmal Hammond?
Yeah.
And it's funny that you use the word hard-boiled, considering that, oh, that is the name of a movie I was quoting the entire time we were watching this, going, oh, this feels like if you gave the movie hard-boiled fucking Valium.
Yeah, and well, the movie did kind of draw a lot from the game, but not enough. I don't feel like they can be put in the same category. Um, but yeah, the game was released in July 2001 for Windows. It was like a few months later released on Mac OS, and then there were ports for the PS2 and the Xbox. And then they made an adaptation for the Game Boy Advance a few years later. And then they did mobile versions for iOS and Android, which those were done by Rockstar Games. Um, they had a Dreamcast version in the works, but then it got canceled because the Dreamcast got discontinued. But this thing was on everything. It was on the Xbox 360. It was on the PS3. It was on the PS4. It was on the Xbox One, um, and the Xbox Series X and S.
What about my beloved Nokia N-Gage?
I don't think it was on the N-Gage.
We got so many Splinter Cell games on that fucking thing, and you're telling me I didn't get one goddamn Max Payne game?
No, but good news. They're working on a remake of the original Max Payne that's going to be coming out on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X or S.
Great, I don't run any of those machines that can run that. Yay!
This game has been on everything to come out since 2001. It's ridiculous.
So this should be on the same level when they talk about the joke of like, oh, whenever we're in trouble, we see you three, and it's Minecraft, GTA 5, and Skyrim. Should we add Max Payne to that pile too?
I was just gonna say, yeah, it's right up there with Skyrim almost.
Bitch, this game was on the original Game Boy Advance. Not even the one with the backlit screen.
Which they had to completely like make a whole different version for the Game Boy Advance because you couldn't do a third-person shooter. You had to do like some top-down 2D crap. So it's like I don't even know why they wasted their time.
Caleb, they put Medal of Honor Underground on the Game Boy Advance. Trust me.
Oh, I know.
They got a first-person shooter on that sumbitch. You can get whatever the hell you want.
Oh God. Yeah, so the way it worked, like I guess in 1996, Remedy Entertainment, they just finished their first game, and they immediately had this new idea for a third-person shooter. It was inspired by Tomb Raider, which had come out just a year or two before. But they did decide to avoid Tomb Raider's terrible camera system.
Thank God on them. Although I will say, while better, there are still a few aspects in the original Max Payne that you're just like, okay, this camera system is up its own ass. But yeah, so not nearly as bad as the original Tomb Raider, not nearly as bad as Dino Crisis. Oh God.
Yeah, we'll get to. I mean, the camera isn't as bad as Tomb Raider, but it was also running on a custom-made engine for Max Payne, which was great in a lot of ways. But yeah, the camera was not. I mean, it was pretty good for the time.
Yes,
anyway.
Very good.
But the starting point for the game for them was like the archetype of the private eye and the hard-boiled cop. They just wanted that to be used in a game with like a deeper psychological story than what people were used to. The working titles were Dark Justice and Max Heat. Which, okay, so wordplay on a TV show called Dick Justice and a porn film called Max Heat.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm like, no matter what you say with those two,
They're
I'm like,
porn
are we
names.
sure those aren't actually Chuck Norris movies from the fucking mid '90s? I'm like, they're not Steven Seagal, because Steven Seagal has to have like 3 or 4 actual syllables in his titles. But yes, no, I'm just like, are we sure that Max Heat was it?
Oh yeah, like it all just sounds like, even Max Payne sounds like a bad porno movie.
Max Payne is a bad porn star, I'm pretty sure. He looks like Pinhead. It's just on the other head.
Yeah, I'm actually really glad that they landed on Max Payne instead of what was it? Dark Justice and Max Heat.
Max Heat.
It's literally the name of a porno. It's so funny.
And this conversation is going to get so much better. And trust me, I know I've been dropping hints about all the shit I'm going to talk about in my portion, but oh, trust me, it's going to get better after what I watched earlier this week.
Oh, man. Um, but yeah, like I said before, instead of cutscenes, they had these comic panels with voiceovers. They did it to be more effective and costly, also to take up less space, and like I said, it forced the player to interpret each panel for themselves, and quote, the nuances are there in the head of the reader. It would be much harder to reach that level in game with pre-rendered cinematics. Um, whatever that means. That was the developer of the game. Um,
Now, do you know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like, oh shit, we went over budget. What are we gonna do for the cutscenes? I got an idea.
well, and like the plot for this game, if you couldn't tell with the amount of different crazy shit that's going on, they didn't really have it planned out all the way. When they started, they kind of just started making it and fucking bullshitting as they went. So using the whole comic page system also allowed them to swap parts of the story around if they needed to.
Oh, definitely. No, I could easily see that, especially with. I mean, I've heard of horror stories with different game companies where they change the game up so much before the release of the game. They're like, well, we have all these pre-rendered cutscenes. What are we going to do? Chop them up, move it from this side to that side kind of thing for it. And that's what I kind of meant when I said it's just like, well, what are we going to do for our cuts? You know, we were over budget. We're going to do get the cutscenes out, just have some jackass in art department drop a bunch of fucking panels, throw it in there. What, just think of a reason why. Oh, the gamer will interpret however they will with this going on in the background.
Yeah, well, and at least it's not something where they were like planning on doing cutscenes, but then they were running out of time, so they were just like, fuck it, do comics instead. It was planned from the beginning, so I think it ended up working for them.
And that kind of does make sense. Just talking about just how you said that there's basically a 5-year development before this game was actually released in terms of everything.
Yep.
Because I keep dropping hints, so I'll get into it a little bit more with the actual filmmaking aspect. But Hard Boiled, which is a 1992 movie by the master that. Sorry. The master that is John Woo, one of the greatest film directors. Greatest action film director, shall we say, of all time. Chinese gentleman. That was actually his last Chinese film before he came to the United States to make the masterpieces that are Hard Target, Face Off, Broken Arrow, check, and what was the other one? Oh, yes, Wind Talkers with Nicolas Cage. Where's me, Nicolas Cage? In World War II. Christian Slater gets killed with a fucking katana. This is a movie. Sorry. Peter Stormare plays an American general. It's like, what the fuck? But anyway, no. You look at this game in which you're running around, you're jumping through the air, you're shooting guns 2 at a time, throwing them away, grabbing another gun out of the air and shooting it. This was the precursor to Super Hot. And before the precursor to this was Hard Boiled. And you're playing this, you're like, no, this is the Hard Boiled video game. You ask anybody, what's the plot of Hard Boiled? They go, I don't know. They shoot out.
It's all about
scene and shoot out another scene.
Yeah, it's all about jumping and shooting. Jump and shoot. That's all you need.
And that is all. You could tell me what the plot of the first 2 Max Payne games are. I couldn't tell you.
Right.
I'd be like, really? You could just make up whatever the hell at the top of your head. All I remember is jumping through the air and shooting like 6 guys in a room.
It's like paying attention to the plot in Call of Duty. No one fucking cares. But yeah, they speaking. So back to cutscenes though, real quick. They actually did have a few pre-rendered cutscenes, but it was only for the action sequences. But yeah, it just has too much story to it, which I'm sure it's an interesting story.
I don't know. You brought up pharmaceutical companies, illegal drugs, and secret society, and I'm just like, oh god, this has turned into your average episode of Alex Jones, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the movie did a pretty good job of involving just countless ridiculous storylines all overlapping each other.
Oh, I just meant what you were talking about with the video games. So I was just saying, dude, the video game sounds like an episode of Alex Jones. This feels like Mother Jones Central.
But yeah, so Remedy Entertainment, they created a custom game engine for it. They called it Mad FX. Um, the only games to use this engine were Max Payne and Max Payne 2. They even had like a level editor for it and everything like that. And the only other thing it's been used for is maybe some indie games, but it was licensed to Future Mark, which you might not know because you're kind of new to the whole PC benchmarking stuff. But Future Mark makes a program called 3D Mark, which is a benchmarker for like graphics cards and stuff. So yeah, it was licensed to them, who made the 2001 second edition of 3D Mark. So really early benchmarking software was just Max Payne, basically.
What we're doing, just with how smooth a lot of the movement and combat is in this, that is actually not a bad idea of actually doing it for RAM space.
Well, we're lucky it came out so smooth and stuff, because it was initially scheduled to release almost 2 whole years prior to when it did. It was scheduled to release summer of 1999, but it was repeatedly delayed and had heavy revamping in 2000. Um, they like pretty much like redid the whole like graphic system to improve it to more like realistic textures and lightings and stuff for the new consoles that had just come out. And they had like a whole multiplayer mode that was cut out of the game.
Anyone else having flashbacks to Cyberpunk 2077 here in this about? Should have came out 2 years prior.
Which is crazy, because this game, coming out 5 years after they started development, basically, like, that was a long time in the 90s. 5 years on a game was ridiculous in the 90s, and they still had to cut a bunch of good stuff. I haven't really looked into too much, like, what was happening in the studio at that time, but chances are multiple people were fired in this process. I can almost guarantee that.
Remedy Entertainment, that actually sounds really, really familiar. You said that their prior success. What was their previous success?
Let's see, what did they make? Let me just Wikipedia this.
Next time we go into a wiki mode, we need to have the Wikipedia music, which either needs to be
So I mean, I haven't found their first game yet, but they are the same people that made Alan Wake.
Mm-hmm. No, I knew that.
Yep. I did not know that. They did Quantum Break.
Oh god, they did Quantum Break.
Yeah.
No.
Death Rally. That was their first game, Death Rally.
Oh. Wait, that just looks...
It's just Twisted Metal, basically.
You do a Twisted Metal knockoff, and then you make Max Payne.
Yeah, which Max Payne is just one Matrix ripoff. Which actually leads me into my next topic. Once it released in 2001, there were inevitably tons of comparisons to the Matrix. So the designers of the game even included like homages to the film in order to capitalize on the hype of people being like, this is just like the Matrix. So for instance, the detonation of the subway tunnel door that gives you access to the bank vault is similar to the cartwheeling elevator door in the movie. What is like pretty much the same exact thing.
Which I thought it was gratuitous in the film. I remember playing the game and seeing that and going, "Oh, that's just gross."
Yeah, and then the intro to the game, the level called Nothing to Lose, it's really similar to like the hotel lobby or bank lobby or whatever it is, the lobby shootout in the Matrix. Mm-hmm. It's real similar. So it's kind of cool. Like they were pretty self-aware with that. But yeah, so it did pretty well. It was the US's 19th best-selling PC game of 2001, which is pretty dang good.
Especially with all the good shit that did come out in 2001.
Yeah, let's see what came out in 2001. PC games.
Let's see, Blood 2 from Monolith.
Let's see, we got Aliens versus Predator 2.
Yes, from Rebellion.
Yeah, we got Return to Castle Wolfenstein.
Ooh.
We got Diablo 2. Came out in 2001. Civilization 3. Red Faction. Let's see what else we got here. Command and Conquer came out, or one of them came out in 2001. Yeah, we had the first Serious Sam came out that year.
That was the one that was in the back of my mind. I'm like, shit, what was that? Yep. Oh, do I see who I think I see?
You got
right there?
Baldur's Gate 2.
No, they have the first Arma.
No, that's Operation Flashpoint.
Yeah, I know that's the precursor.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
oh,
that's the people who created Arma.
I've never
so
really
it's basically
been
like the Arma prototype, pretty much.
Yeah, I've never really been an Arma fan, so I didn't know it. Although I do own a few of the games, of course. Yeah, man. What else came out that year?
First Gothic.
Yep, RuneScape came out that year. Devil May Cry came out that year. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, which I played the shit out of.
Silent Hill 2.
Silent Hill 2. Man, a lot of good stuff. Ghost Recon.
That was the other one that I was waiting for you to get to. Oh, Grand
GTA
Theft
3, yeah.
I guess the better question is, what came out on the PC, though?
These are all PC games.
That inevitably for GTA 3, but that GTA 3 did not come out for the for the PC in 2001.
Oh, well, Google says it did, so.
Sorry, that's why I'm a little confused. I'm seeing some of these titles, I'm like, oh, those were not on that in that era.
Yeah, but I mean, like, within the next couple years when it came out on PC2 or PS2 and stuff, it also got, like, multiple, like, awards and trophies and whatever for...
I guess what we're trying to get at is just how stacked the actual original PC market was at the time, and just to think that it came out as one of the highest in the top 20 right there, that's insane.
It did very well.
Especially for being a brand new IP, something that wasn't based off of anything else.
So if you're a shooter fan, I definitely recommend picking up the remake of this on the next gen consoles when it comes out. But yeah, that's all I got for the game. What were you able to find for this movie? Oh gosh, I don't even want to know.
This film is made by one of my most hated filmmakers working today.
Oh boy.
I have nothing personally wrong with the director known as John Moore. I have nothing personally against him. He is just, his entire filmography are films that I would not piss on them if they were on fire. If he himself was on fire, I probably wouldn't piss on him.
You're out of luck, buddy.
Mr. Moore is the gentleman who directed such masterpieces as Behind Enemy Lines with Owen Wilson, The Omen remake from 2006 with Liev Schreiber, Max Payne, starring Marky Mark of the Funky Bunch. 2013's 2013's To Live Free, or no, A Good Day to, no wait, no. Yeah, it is A Good Day to Die Hard, aka the last Die Hard movie, aka the movie that killed the fucking franchise. And then some other piece of shit that went direct to video back in 2016. This guy hasn't had a career since. Anyway, this guy sucks. This guy really sucks. I mean, the only movie of his that's actually kind of interesting to see is the movie Flight of the Phoenix, just because of how many famous people are in it. And you're like, okay, how many naked pictures did you have of these people to put them in this piece of shit? Anyway, long story short, the fact that one of the worst directors that we have working today, and again, I have nothing against John Moore personally, just, dude, no, you suck. Anyway, somehow he got the rights to do the Max Payne movie where they took all the interesting elements, like you said the words earlier, neo-noir.
Yeah.
Which are extremely interesting. It's just saying a new form of the noir picture, which comes from the French for, well, pretty much what we call noir films today, which were like cheap detective stories from like the 1930s and such. Noir is actually French for black, and what they're referring to is the heavy use of black and white photography for a lot of these cheap movies. And that neo-noir has had a big influence on just worldwide cinema and storytelling for a long time. I mean, Quentin Tarantino is probably the most famous person who's actually done a lot of neo-noir style films.
Yeah. Well, and I even pointed out before Sin City, like it kind of had that same kind of visual feel, but none of the good story. So
I brought up John Woo earlier. I brought up just the sense of action that almost all of his films have, and were the inspiration for the game of Max Payne. Why on God's green earth would you make Max Payne more of an actual neo-noir and put none of the neo, none of the noir, and put all of the no, both no's, both no-nos? Why would you do that for this film?
Yeah.
Let's put it this way. I love organized crime film. Goodfellas, one of my favorite films of all time. I was bored when I saw this movie back in 2008, and I was sober. Dear God, with how much I did not give a shit watching this movie today, 14 years later, sitting on the couch. I can't even imagine what my headplace would have been like that. Transplant myself back.
And
then.
this is what makes me kind of feel bad. Is like we decided to talk about these movies for a podcast and try to make it interesting. But like, when Archangel in the chat earlier was kind of giving us a hard time for how bad we shit on Assassin's Creed when we saw that movie.
We feel bad now. We were a little hard on that one.
Yeah, and we're gonna be a little hard on this one too, I feel. But
I don't think there's gonna be any defenders on that one or on this one.
Yeah, but I mean, keep in mind, folks, that if we are saying something negative about a film you like, we're not trying to be offensive.
To quote the We Hate Movies guys, it's okay to like a movie. We are just looking at it from our own personal tastes. The same thing when we talk about video games. I mean, we've talked about some games before that one of us has played more than the other, and the one person liked it a hell of a lot more, and that doesn't mean that the game is shit or the game is the greatest thing ever made. So, no, we're sorry for any insensitivities or any problems that we have or any things that we say that makes fun of, or I shouldn't say makes fun of, but, causes offense towards any of your own personal beliefs and or, personal likes.
And the thing is, like, even if we sit here and say that this movie is objectively bad, the game is still a great time. So, I mean,
it goes down in history as the Mount Rushmore of modern shooting games.
Yeah, not many people are going to remember this movie.
But when it comes to shooting games, it's going to be Halo, it's going to be Max Payne, it's going to be Splinter Cell.
Yep.
And I don't know, maybe one of the Call of Duties. I don't know. That's gonna be the Jefferson on it. People are gonna be like, "Who gives a shit?" But which Archangel and I were talking about that earlier, actually. Just to go back to video games for a second.
Yeah.
How important, if you think about it, when it comes to the third-person genre, are Max Payne and Hitman?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You have the third person in terms of perspective of being sort of a stealth game, and then you have this, which is full out front with actually good controls between the two of them. You compare any of the other games that are third person shooters previously to those two, the controls are awful. Controls as well as the camera.
Yeah, you take like Prince of Persia or Tomb Raider into account with these early 3D games, and great games usually, right? But like I said, with Tomb Raider, awful camera controls. There were things like there'd be like a delay in the animation from when you press a button just because of how they hadn't really tuned that side of 3D stuff. So to see games like Hitman and Max Payne come out a few years later and kind of really improve on a lot of those things, it just like automatically makes them great fucking games.
And then you look at just kind of the way the controls of both Hitman and then Max Payne, how they go in terms of being a third-person action series.
Yep.
Look at that, and, not that long afterward, you have the likes of, say, Resident Evil 4.
Oh, yeah.
You have the Gears of War franchise. You have the Uncharted franchise. The ones who set the standard that, all AAA third-person games, they have to be third-person, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this game definitely set a lot of precedents for for stuff. And I mean, it's obviously still killing it if it's come out on basically everything besides Nintendo consoles. So
Anyway, the main reason I wanted to divulge onto that is now think of just all the ways this movie kind of shit the bed in terms of it did none of those things for filmmaking here in the United States.
Oh my gosh, it was. This movie was hard, y'all.
Because we haven't done it yet, but one of the things that has always irked me about Doom 2005, and don't get me wrong, Carl Urban, not only is he one of my favorite living actors, but he's also one of the nicest celebrities I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. Carl Urban is in that movie. He looks like he's having a ton of fun. Everybody in the movie looks like they're having a ton of fun. Attention to detail on all the background things. All the casting crew on that, they knew what they were making. Unfortunately, the story department had no fucking idea. And I make fun of this, and when we inevitably do the episode on it, I'm going to do it again. Why the hell, pun definitely intended, would you take the hell out of Doom?
Oh my god. I don't know if any of y'all have seen any of the Doom movies. There's multiple. They're harder to watch than Max Payne.
But here's the thing, though. We say they took the hell out of Doom. Why did they deposit the demons into fucking Max Payne?
So, well, one thing you might not realize about the story from the game is there was actually a bit of Norse mythology and stuff in the game. So,
yeah, they call the drug Valkyrie. They don't have a goddamn flying motherfucking angels in it.
Yeah, you might be right. I guess I didn't really get too far in the game to know, but
nope. The experimental drug that you use that actually makes you go into is called Valkyrie, which is what they're using in this, and that's what gives them their superpowers, I guess. But yeah, no, that didn't allow them to see or be felt by demons, where one person is killed mysteriously by one in this, and you're like, why did you put this in Max Payne?
yeah, it was okay. So I know I said before that I had actually walked out on this movie and I wasn't really paying attention at all. But even if I was trying to pay attention, I don't think I would have been able to follow it. It was just boom, 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 things happening. There was an action scene every once in a while. Otherwise, it was constantly just Mark Wahlberg being dramatic and talking to people that you've never seen before. And
Mila Kunis being like, "Hi, I'm Mila Kunis. I'm holding a gun."
I forgot she was even in this movie. we watched it 2 hours ago, and I forget. Ludacris was in this movie? What the hell?
Every time the camera looks over at Beau Bridges, you see him hiding the spliff. He's hiding behind his back because he and his brother Jeff were smoking off screen just before, and he's just like, "Oh, that's right. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
about the drugs, Max. It's okay."
The cast for this movie was wild.
This is probably the best cast I've ever seen for a video game movie.
It was wild. I mean, you got Marky Mark, you got Ludacris, Mila Kunis, like I was saying, Beau Bridges.
Chris O'Donnell, it's like, where the hell did you drag his ass out of?
Yeah, and it had, gosh, I can never remember the guy's name.
Oh, the guy from Barry,
yeah, he has a brown goatee.
Oh, I'm talking about the guy with alopecia from Barry.
Oh. No, there was a lot of recognizable faces, but then just everything else was shitty. The whole movie was shot at nighttime.
And with green screens. However, there is one thing
God.
I will say. During the penultimate shootout they have in the building, they literally did end up shooting there for a month, and they used 6,000 squibs. And I look at that, and I just go,
how?
There
was 2 camera angles the whole fucking scene. It was ridiculous.
And on top of that, just looking at it, I'm just like, unfortunately, you guys blew your load earlier in the film where you're using CGI on this, so you know what? I have no suspension of disbelief when it comes to explosions going off, so I'm just like, oh, wow, more explosions.
Well, one frustrating thing that could have made this movie a lot better was the action scenes. They'd start an action scene, and it would just be nothing but close-up shots of each side, but never really kind of showing enough of what's going on to understand what's actually happening. All of a sudden, people are teleporting across rooms to hit each other, and just like things like that, where it's like this was very poorly directed action scenes, and then between the action scenes were these long, just detective bullshit explanation stuff, where it's just it. There were elements that might have done it for some people, but them all combined didn't do a thing for me.
Do you know what is a better, both a better representation of a detective story in a video game movie, as well as a better adaptation of Max Payne than this movie? The first Mortal fucking Kombat, because one, you could see what was going on. Two, there was a mystery, and three, it's closer to Max Payne than this piece of shit.
And I actually enjoy the Mortal Kombat movies, so.
Sorry, a bit of a stretch of a joke, ladies and gentlemen, but I figured I better throw that one out. And kind of the funny thing that I've been laughing my ass off at all week before we finalized that we're doing this movie, I, this week, for the first time, got to see the masterpiece that is 1997's Paul Thomas Anderson's Boogie Nights with Mark Wahlberg playing Dirk Diggler. And just the way he firmly caresses the handguns in this movie, I'm just like, Mark, that really was a prosthetic they gave you at the end of that movie, wasn't it? All 9 inches.
Yeah, so I hadn't downloaded this movie until maybe 5 minutes before you got here to watch it with me. And so I didn't realize that Marky Mark was the main character until I went to download it, and I was like, oh no. So maybe that kind of ruined it for me before coming into it, but
the one thing that I will say coming out of it, though, that put the biggest smile on my face is that they had in the end credits, it said personal trainer and chef of Mark Wahlberg was Paul Wahlberg, the owner and main head of Wahlburgers. And now I'm thinking to myself, because I've never been to a Wahlburgers, do all the Wahlburgers, are they all named after either inside jokes or like character names or references to Mark Wahlberg movies?
I have no idea. I've been to a Wahlburgers maybe once.
I guess more so I'm saying, if they don't do that, why don't they do that? Because literally, you're Wahlberg.
I don't know, man. But maybe we should get this wrapping up here soon. So, do you have anything else to add, Elmer, before we do Bop or Flop?
No, we can get right back. We can get right into that. No, this is one of the biggest flops I've. Oh. I made sure I took a screenshot of that. No, oh my god, how the hell did I forget to almost bring this up? I am so sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I am so glad I remembered this. This is a thing of beauty. So, Mark Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg has stated, this is an actual quote on IMDb. Now, if you've never been to the trivia section on IMDb, I can tell you this right now. The trivia section on IMDb definitely puts the trivia in trivial, because it's boy. What the flying fuck do you people have that's not better with your time than this bullshit? Anyway, this one's on here, and this made me laugh my ass off.
Oh boy.
Mark Wahlberg has stated in interviews that John Moore is one of the best directors he has ever worked with.
Oh no.
Other directors Wahlberg has worked with include Tim Burton, Martin Scorsese, Paul Thomas Anderson. They put that on there to go. Yeah, he's got
Michael Bay. Oh boy. Well, anyway, we all know what we're gonna say, but Bop or Flop, Elmer?
Well, I'm just gonna do this quote from the actual the game designers of the original game. We're apparently unimpressed by the motion picture adaptation.
You don't say.
I didn't even work on it, and I can tell you, I'm probably just as unimpressed.
Oh yeah, no, it was a flop for me too. For sure a flop. Maybe I would have liked it a bit more if I was like more into action films, or if they actually had a little bit better direction on the film or something. But This was really just a big bummer. So I'm sorry to anyone that likes it, but for me, um, go play the game. Go play Max Payne. You're gonna have a good time whether you're into shooters or not. Even if it's just for a quick session, the game is a lot of fun. Stay away from the movie, maybe. So
Let's put it this way: the quote-unquote demons/angels in this are supposed to be Valkyries. You want an actual good thing that involves Valkyries that I just saw last night. That is probably my new favorite movie of the year. Go see Robert Eggers' The Northman with Alexander Skarsgård. Best adaptation I've seen of a Shakespearean property in a very long time. Gorgeous, great action to it, great storytelling. There was 2.5 hours that felt like I was in the theater for an hour. And go see that. Don't watch this.
yeah, this was not fun, but luckily this is the last of our bad movies for a little while. Next week we're going to be starting on the Halo series, so we're going to be reviewing at least the first 3 Halo games. Maybe we'll do Halo Reach too.
What about the Blomkamp filmography, though? That still technically counts.
It does, but I don't know if I want to cover it. I mean, this new Halo series on Paramount is doing pretty well, a lot better than any of the other adaptations have been. So we'll do this one and see where it goes. But
Disagree, you're nominated for Best Picture.
within like this month that we're gonna be doing Halo, we will probably likely have a guest on to talk about a really cool older movie, which will be a lot of fun to watch, even if it's not that great. Yeah, they were supposed to be on tonight's episode, but something came up and they had to change plans. But we're rescheduling, so I apologize about that. But we switched to Max Payne last second, so. Stay tuned if you're interested in Halo. I'm sure the next few episodes are gonna be a lot of fun. So I'm actually looking forward to it. I haven't played Halo in a long time, but we've both been huge fans of the series growing up and stuff. So
shit, I might have to reinstall the Master Chief Collection on my fucking Xbox. This next week, play a little bit after work. So.
If you want to play, I have it on PC. We can play together.
Ooh.
So maybe we'll do that too. But yeah, before we go here, if you want to figure out where else to listen to us, you can head to gamelink.click. You'll find all our links there, as well if you want to see the video of it. You catch us on YouTube. We got the YouTube link there, as well as the link to my Twitch, twitch.tv/Lebby, where you can catch us live just about every Sunday here. So with that, thanks for watching. Stick around if anyone's here for the Q&A, and we'll maybe talk a little bit. So we'll see you next week, guys.
Stay safe, stay sexy. Hello!